afternoon and welcome back to our series of artist interviews. I'm here today with Clare Wake, who's just going to talk through a few of our works with us and give us some extra little insights. So it's lovely to see you, Clare. Would you like to introduce yourself briefly?
Okay, yes, I've lived in York for about 25 years. I've been painting all my life, trained at the Stage School, and I just want to carry on painting and find out what there is left to find out about me in painting.
Great stuff. So we've got one of your pieces here behind us now. If you'd like to just introduce it and tell us a little bit about what's going on here.
This is something that's done in gouache on paper. So gouache is a sort of very loose, drippy way, and it is based on the Grand Canyon because I had a trip there a couple of years ago, and I'm still getting to grips with the Grand Canyon. But the geology of the place seems to me to break itself up into a lot of triangles and wedge shapes and layers. So this is not an actual view of it, but it's developed bit by bit, and I've just worked it out and overpainted as it went along. And I think it might be finished. And I've only just recently started using gouache. It's a more opaque sort of watercolour. It covers up the colours underneath a bit more, but there's still this translucent aspect of it, so you can still get layers showing through if you want to. And it gives quite a lightness, I think. So I thought this was quite nice.
I think so, yeah. I think the layers is a really sort of key part of it. I think that really comes through. In a few of your other Grand Canyon pieces as well, that seems to be quite a similarity between.
So lots of the other ones are bigger and on canvas. So yes, this is just another development in sort of quite a playful, invented sort of way.
Yeah. The colours are very sort of pastel, like mild tones in this one as well. A few of your other Grand Canyon ones are a little bit bolder and brighter, maybe.
Maybe or gloomy or something.
Yeah, a bit more stark.
Yeah, that might be the gouache, I guess. The lightness, a lot of white in it.
Right. Okay. Lovely. Thanks for that. So we've moved on now to a rather different sort of style of your work. If you'd like to tell us a little bit about this piece, because it's quite a change from the one we've just seen.
It looks quite different, but in fact it didn't start that differently. It's still gouache on paper, and it was still put on with lots of very wet, sort of sloshing, dripping paint. But this one has had a lot less sort of construction applied on top of it, so there's more of what started off, which is still apparent. And all the drips of the water coming down gave a sort of quite an archy effect, which, since I've just been painting pictures of the Minster, did seem to look like sort of cathedral to me. And what I wanted to do was sort of make this contrast between these very soft, sort of almost accidental areas, and then the very definite shapes, which have got quite hard edges, and they don't have any particular place. They don't embed themselves in the picture. They sort of could be in front or they could be in it. They sort of hover in front. So that was the start, and then it stalled for a bit. And then finally I decided that a little bit of collage would just make enough of it into a picture. So I've got these. That's just a piece of Easter egg foil, which I always find is quite nice, a nice material. But these other bits it looks like thick paint, which it is because it's palette scrapings. It's what I take off my acrylic palette when it gets too thick. And then I have a collection of them, and I can pick out the appropriate colours and put on just a little area here and there. And to me, they sort of float in the same way that those do, but because they're more ragged, they also sink into the picture a bit more. Just the combination of them seemed to me to give just about enough richness, and that has done as far as it goes.
I see. So yeah, again, quite sort of. It looks quite different, but now that you've mentioned that it came out of a similar sort of process, you can see those similarities. It's nice again that you've got a few sort of different layers that seem to creep out. These sharper shapes do really remind me of sort of quite ecclesiastical windows, like you mentioned before. So yeah, another really nice piece of work. Thank you. On to another piece of your work now, again some quite sort of different colours and styles maybe, if you'd like to just talk us through this one.
Well, this is yet another continuation of the sort of what I would call expressionistic watercolour gouache pictures. So this again started with a lot of sort of sloshing, dripping paint, but this went on top of something which had already had a bit of printing on, which is this rather chaotic curly shape.
Right.
So the other stuff went on top of it, but bits of it was still showing through because this is in acrylics underneath. It seemed to resist the gouache. So I had the ghost of this and then a lot of drips and I had to make some sort of geometry of it. And so I suppose it sort of built itself up into rectangles, funny shapes, and then the need to integrate this with the drippy stuff meant I had to sort of fake some other bits that looked a bit like that. so those are not bits of residual printing, although I think some of that is, I'm trying to remember. And it's just built up, so part of it is sort of in fragments and part of it is continuing the line. It's an improvisation and I don't know what it is, but I'm generally happy with the composition of it and I'm generally happy with the colours and the different sorts of kind of spongy shapes and drippy shapes. I think I've just about put enough control onto that without quite overdoing it. And I would like these sort of sliced shapes as if it's collage. It isn't actually collage, but it could be.
Yeah, I'd say so. So this one's a little bit more improvised and experimental than the newest ones. Or
maybe it's got less of an obvious subject, hasn't it?
Right. Okay. I see. Great, so we've got your final piece of work here that we're going to talk through today. This one's probably the most sort of obviously different to my eyes anyway, so tell us about this one.
This is a bit of a departure because underneath all of this there's quite a fairly conventional floral watercolour, but it didn't really have enough interest and impact, and I had these pieces of paper that were left over from a different collage and I just put them on to have a look, and they seemed to sort of burst out of the picture and make it all much more sort of full of movement and full of life, so I thought that was the way to go. So it takes quite a long time to place these and try and get them right, so I started off collaging some extra pieces, so those were all right, and then I found that one which was wonderful. And then I got some tracing paper, and the tracing paper has got this which is painted on as well, and so you get the sort of partly see-through and partly not see-through effect, but definitely sort of ripply edge, which seemed to form a great background. Having done that, I have sort of found some of these extra wiggly lines from drawing coming out of the bouquet shape in general, but they all sort of interwove together. So it's partly real and it's partly improvised, and then there's this little piece of spin painting, which is not a tribute to Damien Hirst, although it seems like it. So overall, it's a sort of weird bouquet. So it's figurative and non-figurative, and collage and watercolour together. It's a bit of a departure, but I think I might continue with this again, sort of There's another bit of palette scraping on here as well.
Great, great. Yeah, I think that's a really nice one to end on actually. Thanks very much, Claire, for talking us through a few of your pieces today. It's been really great. Thank you.
Thank you.